And now, Chapter 2, Part 3, the main event, the brain. There's several different ways we can conceptualize the brain. The one I'm going to lay out to you is a good one, and it's very common. We have the hindbrain, which is associated with life functions. The midbrain, which is kind of a relay station between the hindbrain and the forebrain up at the top, which is the seat of higher functions. And so our strategy will be to start at the bottom with the hindbrain, move on up to the midbrain, and then close out with the forebrain at the top, examining structures and functions along the way. For Chapter 2, Part 3, this short lecture, we're just going to do the hindbrain and the midbrain. And our last lesson will be on the forebrain. Ready to go? But before we go any further, let me say this. We're going to examine some important structures of the brain, but by no means are we going to examine all or even most of the structures in the brain. And we will examine some important functions of various structures, but remember it's just that, some important functions, not all of them. And most importantly, remember that other parts of the brain are always involved in any single function. That part or structure that we single out is not a one-person show. It'll have a supporting cast of other areas of the brain. I think this is a useful metaphor for you. Think of the brain as a symphony orchestra with all its individual instruments playing together seamlessly to produce consciousness and behavior. Think of the brain that way. I think that'll be useful. The hindbrain consists of several structures, including the medulla, the reticular formation, the pons, and the cerebellum. The medulla takes automatic control over life functions, and these include heartbeat, breathing, blood pressure, coughing, sneezing, and hacking. Poor girl. The medulla does this automatically, and we don't even have to think about it. We don't have to give it any conscious effort, and that's a blessing. But does that mean that we have no control over these life functions? Absolutely not. We can get at least some control over life functions through relaxation methods like yoga, but that would be done in the forebrain that we'll discuss in our last part. The reticular formation plays a crucial role in attention and arousal. It's a filter of sorts. It blocks some messages but allows other messages into the midbrain and forebrain, kind of like a gatekeeper. The reticular formation reduces alertness and helps you fall off to sleep even during a violent thunderstorm outside. But it will also wake you up when you hear your baby cry. The pons influences sleep and dreaming. Someone who has had a stroke affecting the pons might sleep a great deal during the day and night, but stop reporting any dream activity even though they had a rich dream life before the injury. That's how important the pons is to sleep and dreaming. The cerebellum plays a role in executing smooth and skilled movements. The cerebellum allows you to walk and talk and chew bubble gum all at the same time. Those are important components of the hindbrain. And moving up further, we come to the midbrain, with its primary role being a relay station, linking the physiological hindbrain with the thinking forebrain. Now, let's go back to a reflex that's handled at the level of the spinal cord. Remember, the sensory neuron takes the pain message up to the spinal cord, and it loops down. The motor neuron sends a message to the muscle to withdraw. And that's done at the level of the spinal cord. But a split second later, that information goes up the midbrain all the way up to the forebrain. The midbrain is the relay station there, and that's when you consciously think about your behavior. And you may start swearing and fuming. Why do I keep walking into that chair? Why do I keep banging into the furniture? I'm going to have to move that. That, it may seem at the time that that's instantaneous, but that happens a split second later thanks to the midbrain. The substantial nigra is an important structure in the midbrain, and it affects our unconscious motor actions so that you can ride a bike or walk up the stairs, making constant adjustments without any conscious thought. That's a good thing, isn't it? Well, that ends this short lesson on the hindbrain and the midbrain, and our final short lesson will be on the forebrain, which is really what we think about when we talk about brains: intelligence, language, thought, and problem solving. So, see you there. Bye-bye.